Why are there so many injuries in CrossFit? That's a question that a lot of people in the fitness industry have asked over the years. And before I get a ton of hate in the comments about how CrossFit has saved somebody's life, CrossFit's great. There's actually a ton of things that I love about CrossFit, but it does have a reputation of having a lot of injuries. And I don't think we really know if people are more injured when they do CrossFit versus if they work out on their own. We don't really know that, but there is the reputation there either way. So the question begs asking, why do people get hurt a lot doing CrossFit? And my opinion, the main reason is because in some CrossFit programming, at least, there's a very over reliance on bilateral training. Bilateral training just means you're moving both limbs, whether both arms or both legs, at the same time. So one example would be a squat. Squat with a bar on your back, or even just two dumbbells at your sides. That's a bilateral exercise. Or if you're doing a barbell overhead press or a chest press, that's a bilateral exercise. The reason this is a problem is because, as I mentioned in a previous video, we're all walking around with these asymmetries in our body, mostly left to right. Our left side and our right side may look very symmetrical on the outside, but inside, how we're organized and how we function, we're very asymmetrical. So when you have an asymmetrical big difference left to right in how we move and how we perform, then you put an exercise that forces both sides to work equally, you're going to get injury on one side or the other. Because let's take a barbell overhead press, for instance. If there's instability or weakness in your left shoulder, but you're pressing a bar overhead, you're going to be in a bad position for the shoulder to do work. So even if the bar looks like it's moving pretty levelly, this side's compensating to get the job done. Now, it'd be a lot safer if you just use two dumbbells, one weight in each hand, because then both arms can move a little bit more independently. And even though there's some weakness on this left side, it wouldn't be stuck in a position that it didn't want to be in, because that hand is tied to a bar, which is then tied to the other hand. So that's one big reason why there tends to be a lot of injuries in CrossFit, because there is a lot of use of barbells. Now, there are some exercises that CrossFit is great at that I think counteracts that. There's a lot of gymnastic stuff, either bodyweight training or using rings. All of this stuff actually can be very therapeutic in its own way, because you get free of that bilateral symmetrical movement pattern and you get into more freedom of movement, so your body can work a little bit more independently left and right side. That, I think, tends to kind of balance out the bilateral barbell work that tends to cause more injuries. And it doesn't mean that nobody should ever work with bars. It just means a lot of people are coming into a workout very asymmetrical. They work with bars, it tends to be a bad relationship. So again, there are ways to train out of this and to correct that. Getting with somebody that's a Postural Restoration Institute trained professional like me, they can help assess these differences and then give you a program to help rebalance yourself, so then you can go back to barbell work and you'll perform better and you won't actually be causing any kind of shoulder or hip wear and tear. And that's where we see a lot of the injuries is in our shoulders or in our knees, because when you're doing a bilateral exercise and you're actually asymmetrical in your trunk, it's not so much your left arm and your left leg and right leg are big difference. It's how your pelvis and your rib cage are rotated. But your shoulders and your knees end up taking the brunt of that imbalance, because that's where we have the most mobility here, and we have very little mobility in our knees. But if our pelvis and our hips are asymmetrical, then our knees have to move in a position and a direction they may not want to. So that's why you'll get pain or injury on the inside or outside of your knee, because you're causing too much stress and strain, and the hips aren't able to do what they're supposed to, and the trunk is in this weird position. The shoulders aren't able to do what they're supposed to, so that's why you'll get shoulder or elbow or wrist issues. So again, I'm not hating on CrossFit. This can be the case with any workout, person working out on their own, person working out with a trainer. If all of your exercises are focused on bilateral symmetrical movements, you're probably training on top of a lot of imbalances in your body, which will eventually lead to pain, or if you keep going, will lead to injury. So get that stuff taken care of. Then you can train as hard as you want, do bilateral exercises till the sun comes up, and you'll be much better for it. That's all I got for this video. See you in the next one.